$40 for a set of guitar strings. And then I heard them. Okay, so I want to explain some things because I'm definitely going to buy these, I think. Though I don't have an adjustable truss rod in my D28. However, I did hear a D18 authentic, and my god, these strings. People are having issues with them breaking. So there's some things that people don't understand, the general public, about the physics of guitar strings and truss rods, humidity levels. So if your strings are breaking, it's because your string isn't being set up, or I mean your guitar isn't being set up to your strings. And most modern instruments and strings have a huge margin to work with. You don't have to intonate to every string anymore, especially with an acoustic. Compensated saddles, that everything's compensating for one another. Well, titanium guitar strings are going to be a whole other animal, and I don't even need to own them to understand the physics. So I'm going to try to explain it and what I do specifically to extend the life of my strings, and why, one, I never break strings, two, my strings last a very long time, even the basic Martin strings. And then the 2.0s have lasted me months, not of utter consistent play, but because the D28 authentic, you have to make sure that it's humidified, and that too alone changes the tone of strings. So the top's changing tension, the neck's changing tension, and the truss rod is actually, as I've explained in other videos, designed to moderate the tension of the neck and the strings. It averages out string tension. So if you have a set of titanium strings, that titanium has a unique tensile property that it does not really stretch. It just fails. And so these strings, one, stock Martin saddles, typically have a high break angle. And this is something I quit doing a long time ago, is leaving a saddle stock. Well, you only get so many new guitars, but I'm going to show here on my D28 how my strings wrap over the saddle to reduce the break angle. And what you're also doing isn't just reducing the break angle, which will control a lot of shimmering effects of strings, and I'll explain why, but also the sharper the break angle and the sharper the edge of the saddle. So I curved this edge of the saddle, and now the string, as long as the string comes up and it has a nice angle here, you won't get any saddle buzz, which can be a huge issue. So you can actually have buzz on this side of the saddle. Well, I don't get that. What I do does two things. One, there's no crimp in the core of the string, and there's no separation of the winding of the string. And when that winding starts separating, that's when the core is even stressed even more, because the core doesn't have the windings of the string as it goes over the break angle to allow and sort of decrease that crimping, and it allows the core to still stretch and move freely. Also, these strings have been on here for a while now, a good couple months, maybe even longer. I don't even remember the last time I changed them, honestly. That because of that, the windings of the string can move over the saddle too. And so that's all based around just I eyeball it. I don't know. I got an eye for it. So as a luthier, I use my eyes more than I use spec, because I'm also a player. So I know what I want and I know what I need. And the average musician, well, they're all following specs, and that's why I tell people, if you're going to a luthier and they're using specs, just leave. Look for somebody like me that's also a musician, because they know what the guitar wants rather than simple specs. So, because people will set up their truss rods for neck relief. Completely false. You need to set up your truss rod for neck tension. However strong that specific neck is, because not all necks can be as highly tuned as a D28 Authentic, where they're actually using basic scientific method to make sure that the way that the neck flexes, and with the, well, it has a non-adjustable truss rod. I don't know if they use the T-bar in this. It's hard to find out anything for the specific D28, but now they're using T-bars because they're actually advertising it. Someone online told me it has an ebony truss rod, but anyway, so that neck tension, when you tighten your strings, the neck wants to go this way. Well, that neck naturally has strength that it wants to go back out. And so when you pluck a string and the neck starts resonating, the more mass you have at the end and how that's tuned as well, along with the truss rod, will allow parameters for the neck to flex. And if you loosen it too much, then the strings will overcapacitate, and there's no rigidity within the truss rod, which the truss rod is actually, well, I think it's bent this way actually. So it's bent like this, and it applies a little bit of force to the center of the neck, which straightens it, but also then that allows the neck to flex because of that curve. And so strings, when you get a high shimmer in strings, that is because of the the string at the center of the string versus where the break angle is on where either you fret the note or uh, the the nut as well, and the saddle. Well, the string, as you pluck it and it's resonating, you know, I can't really rotate my finger like that, but it's an increasing cone. So the radius of the rotation of the string as it's resonating, especially with octaves, is how that shimmer develops. And so when I heard these titaniums, that shimmer is really controlled. And instead of what people hear as like overtones, a lot of times it's not overtones, it's that string, and how if you pluck, say, right in front of the saddle, it's like a bing bing sound, and then you pluck way down the string. It's because of how you're activating the string too, and it sends energy in both directions, and then you're hearing those overtones. Well, these strings sound so beautiful, but people are saying that they're breaking. The reason is because titanium fails. It doesn't really stress. It has no stress properties. Its tensile strength is, and I can't. My brain works backwards and forwards. So more tensile strength or less tensile strength. Either way, it gets to a certain point where it doesn't want to stretch, and then it snaps. And if you're getting these strings and they're breaking, well, one, check the saddle. Two, if you have an adjustable truss rod, that's great, but you might need to do a level crown and polish, because if that neck can then flex a little bit more, so the string will only allow so much outward string tension from the neck and the tuning base. Well, if the neck were to bow this way and it doesn't want to pull outwardly, then that extra tension isn't going to stress the tensile strength of the string. And so you have to set up specifically to these strings to get the most out of them. And then it goes into altering humidity levels, which is great for what truss rods do. So they allow you to adjust to the humidity and the string tension. And like my J45 is perfect for this because of how I do my frets. I can work with a broad margin of truss rod tension, and The tighter it is, the brighter the guitar. The looser it is, the less sustain, and it won't play as well in key, but it gets really open and warm. And then I also know how to compensate with that, not only with my play and how I bend specific strings and notes to compensate, and that's just part of the charm. Well, the Martin's a whole other animal, and it doesn't have an adjustable truss rod, which I like because it's it's been specifically set up by a master luthier who's far better than I am with understanding how this neck, because if you get the right strings on there, it'll just boost itself. You'll pluck a string, you'll be playing, and you can hear it getting louder and sustaining itself. It's unbelievably cool. And so these strings, one, I'm worried that bending them will cause them to break, because if you don't have the neck and the truss rod set up a specific way, and you bend a note, you're going to, once again, the tensile strength is going to give. So it's just going to break. And I think that's everything. I've really tried to shorten this down, but apparently I can't say enough in a short amount of time.